Hi, I'm Angela De Niro.
And I'm Ron Apria.
And we'd like to welcome you to the Ginger New York show. We're happy to be back as guest hosts today with Ginger Broderick directing our show. We're very excited about today's guest artist. She's an American jazz singer and songwriter. She's recorded with an array of critically acclaimed artists, and she's credited with pioneering a bebop and scat singing style with an upright bass as the only accompaniment. Her friend, the legendary Charlie Parker, referred to her as the singer with the $1 million ears. In 1974, she was an artist in residence at City College of New York, where she taught till 2005. In 2006, she received the Manhattan Association of Cabarets and Clubs Lifetime Achievement Award. She taught national and international workshops, and in 2012, this is a big honor, she was the recipient of the National Endowment of Arts Jazz Masters Award. Please join us in welcoming Professor Sheila Jordan.
Oh, Professor.
Professor.
Whoa.
How do you do?
Never been called that.
Today's the day.
Nice to meet you, Angela.
Yeah. Nice seeing you again.
It's nice to see you, too.
Last time we met was at Trumpets.
That's correct.
Just about a year ago.
Yeah.
That's right.
You were inducted into the Trumpets Jazz Hall of Fame.
And you were there, too, getting the same honor.
I got lucky. Right, and of course, we had my big band, and it was a great night. We had such a great time.
Yeah, we did.
And it's such a pleasure to hear your stories. And we had one of the things prior to that induction, I was going over your Facebook page, and I saw a picture of Frank Foster. Huh? And you had a story about Frank.
Yes.
He was your boyfriend, I guess.
My first boyfriend was Frank Foster.
Boyfriend.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, Frank and I, probably a little bit after that. I met Frank probably in the late 50s, early 60s, I guess, when he was with Basie's band. And Frank was one of my dearest friends. So we had that in common. Yeah. And it was so cool hearing you tell me stories about Frank that I never knew, you know, when he was younger. So it was a big kick. And I'm sure you have a ton of Frank Foster stories. And the one that I love is when, in fact, why don't you tell a story about when you introduced Frank to Bird, Charlie Parker?
Oh, God, yes. Well, actually, just going back just a little bit, I lived with him on John R. in Detroit for several years. We had a very serious racial problem always there, so it was hard for us, you know. But anyway, he went into the Army, and then I moved to New York, and of course had to chasing the Bird because he was my idol. And I got to know Bird, and because Duke, I eventually married Duke Jordan, and he played for Bird, and I would go to the rehearsals, and I got to meet Bird. And Bird remembered me. He said, oh, because we sang once in Detroit for Bird, thanks to Billy Mitchell. He said, you got to hear these kids sing your tunes. And so we did, me and Skeeter Spite and Leroy Mitchell. So he remembered me from then, and he told me at the time, you got $1 million ears, as you said.
That's right.
So when I went to Birdland the first time to hear Bird, he said, oh, you're the kid with the $1 million ears. Man, I was like so honored.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, getting back to Frank, I got to be friendly with Bird, and very, very close. He was like my big brother. And I took Frank, I said, Frank, bring your horn. He was on leave. And I said, Frank, bring your horn, and we'll go up to Birdland and hear Bird, because he loved Bird, too. And so we went up, and Bird came off and, you know, said hello to me. And he said, and I said, well, this is my boyfriend, Frank Foster. Could you let him sit in, Bird? And Bird said, yeah. You got your horn with you? I said, yeah, I made him bring it. And Frank was like, oh my God. You know, he was like, kind of like, not happy. I mean, happy, but kind of like, oh my God.
Intimidating, yeah.
So intimidated, that's right. So he sat in with Bird, and then afterwards, Bird came over to me and he said, Sheila, and he had his soldier outfit on. He said, Sheila, that soldier boy sure can blow.
Yeah,
and Frank told that story once. He wrote it in some interview that he did.
That's great.
Yeah.
Was Frank playing tenor at that time?
Yes,
oh,
he
okay.
was.
Yeah. Right, so you're talking about Detroit, but now you were born in Detroit, but that's not where you spent your childhood, right?
I spent my childhood in, because my mother was barely 17 when she had me. So she couldn't raise me. She just couldn't.
Yeah.
And all of the girls in the family my grandmother had 10 children. Well, I consider myself the 10th. She had 9 living kids.
Oh, I see. So she raised you, so you became
Yes.
a 10th kid, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and so my mother couldn't raise me, so she sent me to Pennsylvania when I was, God, a baby. And I grew up in Pennsylvania until 14. Then I moved back to Detroit. But we always went up to this place on Saturday where the coal miners would go to drink. That's what, that was their getaway.
Yeah.
You know, having a drink. So years later, I met George Russell, who was very prominent in getting me a recording. And he said, "I'd like to see where you come from to sing like that." And I said, "I come from hell, man." And he said, "Can we visit hell?" And I said, "Yeah, we can." So we went back to Pennsylvania. We went to that club where all the coal miners worked.
Yeah.
Or, well, hung out after work, I should say. And there was one old coal miner in there. And my grandmother was still alive, and she said to the coal miner, "Oh, these are very famous, you know." And I said, "Mom, I'm not famous. George Russell's famous." He looked at me, and he said, "Well, do you still sing 'You Are My Sunshine, Jeannie'?" I said, "No, I don't sing that." He said, "Why not?" And George Russell said, "Why not?" And there was an old out-of-tune upright piano over in the corner. So George went over and started playing. And you know, George plays out. My grandmother said, "That's not the way it goes." And she pushed him, literally pushed him off the bench. And she sat down and she played it, and I sang with her.
Oh, wow.
And then about a month later or so, George called me after we got back to New York. George called me up on the phone. He said, "Come down, I want you to hear something." So I went down, and he played this incredible piano introduction. And he said, stopped. He said, "Now sing." I said, "Sing what?" He said, "Sing 'You Are My Sunshine.'" I said, "Well, are you going to play it?" No, he said, "Sing it alone."
So that's
Cool.
the first time I heard the
Yeah.
version of it, which is, I guess it was really your first official recording, right?
Yes, it was
Yeah.
before Portrait. He had also paid for a tape, a demo tape of me, and he took it to two different places.
Yeah.
And it was Blue Note picked it up, and then the other one was Quincy Jones was the A&R man at the other. I forgot, Mercury, I think. He wanted to record me, but I'd already signed with Blue Note.
So now you fell in love with Charlie Parker's music when you were in Pennsylvania. So now you ended up
in Detroit.
in Detroit.
When I was
Okay.
14. I
Oh,
moved
okay.
back to Detroit
Okay.
when I was 14. Before that, I just sang anything that was on the hit parade.
Okay, so now you're back in Detroit.
Correct.
Club
Detroit, I'm sorry.
Club Elsino. Is that,
Oh,
am I
yeah.
pronouncing it right? Elsino?
Yeah, the Club Elsino.
Tell us that story.
About Bird?
Yeah.
Okay.
About the garbage pails and
Yeah, okay. It's in my blues. I was always trying to hang. There was a club there because I grew up with Tommy Flanagan, Kenny Burrell, and Barry Harris. And then the two guys I sang with, Skeeter Spite and Leroy Mitchell. We were always hanging out together doing them. We loved Bird, we loved bebop. But we couldn't get in any of the clubs because we were too young. But there was a club called the Club Sudan where kids could go and play. And it was owned by a couple from Windsor, Windsor, Ontario. But anyway, then I remember that there was the Club Elsino, which I wanted to go to because Bird was there, because I was a Bird freak, man. And
Weren't we
so
all?
I got all dressed up. I dyed my hair blonde. I put a hat with a veil. I wore high-heeled shoes. And I was smoking my Lucky Strike cigarette, and it was unfiltered. And I got to the door, and the guy said, "You can't come in, kid. You're too young." I said, "What?" He said, "You're too young." And I had my mother's birth certificate. He said, "I don't believe this. Go home. You can't come in." And Bird was standing right by the door when this all went down. So, I was so sick and so sorry and sad. So I realized I'll go around and sit on the garbage cans. Maybe I'll hear. Maybe they'll open the back door. So I went around, I sat on the garbage cans, and sure enough, they opened the back door. Somebody did. I think it was Bird. And there was Bird. And he was playing. and he was playing for me.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And you know what? He never forgot it.
Now, right after that, we're going to get to your tape in a second.
And that story is documented in her song.
It is, but I just want to tell you, you were singing with your group after that, right? In other words, after the, did he?
Oh yeah, we were sang before that actually with the Skeeter, Mitch, and Jean. Yeah, we always
And he
did
heard
the
you.
bird.
And he heard your stuff.
Yes, he
And you
did it.
sang-
He
did-
may ask us to get up and sing with him because of Billy Mitchell. Said you got to hear these kids sing.
Did you actually sing Confirmation for him in that alleyway behind the club?
I think so. Either that or Barbados. I don't remember. It was one of the bird tunes, or Now's the Time,
Now's-
something.
okay.
I think,
I
they're
think it
queuing-
was Confirmation though.
Yeah, I think they're queuing up the video for us.
Well, I was born in Detroit, Michigan, back in 19. Born in Detroit, Michigan, November the 18th, 19, Mickey Mouse's birthday. But my mother, she was only 17 years old and she couldn't raise me. So she sent me to live with my grandparents in a small coal mining town in Pennsylvania State. Grew up with the coal miners, singing in the beer garden every Saturday night. The miners used to sit around and drink their beer and whiskey, chew their cutty sark tobacco, and sing "You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine." Rally, 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 rally. Did they ever fight? Moved back to Detroit when I was about 14. Hanging down at the Club Sudan. Well, that was everybody's scene. You didn't have to be 21 years old to get in there. It was just a place for kids to play and sing. Whoa, yeah. Well, I was always chasing Charlie Parker. I think he wrote that song for me. Chasing the bird, chasing the bird, chasing the bird. When he used to play at the Club Elsinore, where you had to be 21 years old to get in. I forged my mother's birth certificate, wore a hat with a veil, dyed my hair blonde, smoking my Lucky Strikes unfiltered. I was gonna get in the door to hear the bird, but the man at the door said, "Hey, little white girl, you better go home and do your homework." So I went round in the alley, and I was sitting on the garbage cans. Oh, yeah. Bert knew I was there, and he opened up the door and he played his heart out for me. Oh, what a treat, 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 what a treat. For a 14-year-old kid that loved jazz. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. If it wasn't for jazz music, I wouldn't be alive today. Oh, no. If it wasn't for jazz music, I wouldn't be alive today. Because that perfect when I was just a skinny little teenager by the nickname of Jeannie Dawson, running down on John R. to buy all those 78 records so I could hear all those bebop musicians. And thanks to Skeeter Spite and Leroy Mitchell for teaching me how to scat sing. And the bird, Charlie Parker, I wouldn't be up here singing for you at 83 and a half years old. And thank you, Don Was, for having me come back to the city that I learned it all from. I wouldn't be up here singing for you. I'm a little old, but I can still carry on for you tonight.
Brava.
Wow, wow, what a performance.
Oh, thank you.
And you got to tell your whole life story. We could have just listened to that.
Well, that's true.
I get goosebumps listening to stuff like that.
You know, yeah, it is. It
Oh,
is emotional.
thank you.
And does it still affect you to hear it come back to you like that, or you?
Well, yeah, I get a little embarrassed. You know, I'm very critical of myself, so, you know.
That's fine.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, well, that's good to know, because sometimes I say, oh, just shut up and sing. Stop putting yourself down.
I think we all do that, though.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, that was in Detroit.
That was in Detroit, yes.
But you moved to New York. You came after that. You did go back to New York.
Chasing Bird.
Is that okay? It makes sense. And you settled in New York in a beautiful
Yes.
loft apartment. That
Yes, I had a beautiful loft. I used to have sessions there all the time.
wow.
Everybody came to those sessions.
I have a quick,
Yes.
maybe not that quick, but I have a Phil Woods story that relates to Charlie Parker. Of course, Charlie Parker, Bird, was probably the idol of every young saxophone player
I would hope
in the
so.
past,
Yeah.
past 50 years.
Yep.
And of course, Phil, like most of us, idolized Charlie Parker. And Phil tells a story, or he told a story, where he was working in a club across the street from where Charlie Parker was playing. And he said that night he was having all kinds of problems. His horn wasn't working right, his reed didn't feel right, his mouthpiece felt weird, his neck strap didn't even feel comfortable.
Poor Phil.
And then someone told him that Bird was across the street, and so Phil, during one of his breaks, he went across the street and he got to meet Charlie Parker, and he was talking to Bird. And Bird was playing a baritone because his alto was in the hock shop. And
Oh, yeah.
And so Phil said, he says, "You want to borrow my horn?" So Bird says, "Yeah, man." So Phil goes running back across the street, gets his horn, brings it back, and Bird puts the neck strap on, picks up the horn, and starts playing. And Phil said, "The first thing I realized was that he wasn't having any problems with the horn, or the mouthpiece, or the neck strap." You know.
Oh well.
He says, "So, you know, it's not the horn, baby. You know,
Yeah.
it's who's playing."
Yeah.
So now you married Duke Jordan, who was.
I did.
Charlie Parker's-
I tease and I say I married Duke Jordan, Bird's piano player, so I could get closer to Bird's music.
That couldn't have
But
gone over well.
yeah, no. Unfortunately, you know, Frank was gone, and I don't know, we just sort of drifted apart.
Yeah.
So I met Duke with Bird, and that was it.
But you officially, well, you got started in Detroit, but singing, but you started recording, I guess, when you came to New York. That's George Russell got you into
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
George wanted to do this documentary, musical documentary for the out-of-work coal miners in Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania, which is near where I grew up. So, of course, after taking him back, as I told the story,
Yeah.
he wrote this arrangement for You Are My Sunshine.
Gorgeous. Stark. And the thing that I notice is that characteristic of many of the things that you do, the instrumentalists start the music, and they're playing for about 6 minutes, and then you came in. And that's kind of unusual. You know, usually the singers will come out and they'll
start.
You
Yeah.
know, that's
Well,
what they
that
do.
was George's plan. I mean, he arranged it, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he wanted to establish this dedication to the out-of-work coal miners in the front, and then I would come in and sing Sunshine.
I wanted to just also ask you about the thing that you do with the bass. In other words, that's a pretty unusual thing, right?
I started that in the early 50s when I finally, George Russell got me this contract with Blue Note to do a recording. I wanted to do bass and voice because I had been working at this little club in the Village, in Manhattan. Well, here we are. It's not too far from here, and it's on It was on 7th Avenue in the Village, just down from the Village Vanguard.
Okay.
So I said, I would like to do bass and voice because I'd been doing that with Steve Swallow, who was still doing acoustic bass at the time. He wasn't into electric bass yet, you know. So I said, I'd like to do bass and voice, and Alfred Lyon and, Francis Wolff didn't say too much, but Alfred Lyon said, I don't think so.
Really?
He said, I don't think we're ready for that.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, oh. But George Russell arranged to have me do it with a guitar, bass, and drums. And I said, oh, no, I want to do piano. He said, Sheila, trust me. And I don't even think Ella had recorded yet. Really? So it was not very common for voice to be with guitar and bass and drums. So it was Barry Galbraith, who was an incredible guitarist, not very well known, but incredible. And Denzel Best was on drums, and Steve Swallow was on acoustic bass, and that was Portrait of Sheila.
I love it.
So that was the second recording I did. Well, the first one of my own, and that was in 1962.
Did you ever get to work with Kenny Burrell?
I think in Detroit, yeah, because we were always sitting in, we were kids. As far as doing an actual gig, I don't think we ever did. We might have, but I don't remember.
One more question. Who are your favorite singers? Who did you listen to as a kid?
Guess.
Oh, no.
Billie Holiday, man. She was a singer for me. Sarah Vaughan had this incredible voice. No doubt about it. Incredible. And I admired her. Ella Fitzgerald, today, even to this day, nobody scattered like Ella Fitzgerald. Nobody. No shooby doobies with Ella. And but the person that really touched my heart was Billie Holiday. And I never knew that Billie Holiday phrased the way she did and improvised the way she did until I got the original music of the tunes that she sang and played them, and I said, oh my God, that's not the way the tune goes at all.
Is that funny?
I said, that's all, whoa, it was so natural, the
Yeah.
way Billy phrased. I
Yeah.
mean, actually, I liked her melodies better than
Yeah, you know,
the
that's,
originals.
of course.
It was
yeah.
amazing, but then the feeling, her heart, and you could just feel her whole life, you know, her struggles, you could feel it.
Now, you worked with Harvey Swartz and you recorded 2 albums with him.
Harvey was, well, he's now called Harvey S.
Harvey, yes, okay.
He's not Swartz anymore.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You wouldn't know, but he's now Harvey S. I started a bass and voice with Harvey. Originally, I did the bass and voice with Steve Swallow, and then Steve went and started doing electric and got very busy. So I had a group. I met the wonderful Steve Kuhn, and I was with his group, and we had a quartet together. And I said to Harvey, I said, you know, I've been doing bass and voice for a long time. I'd like to, would you be interested? He said, yeah, but we got to rehearse. And I said, of course. So I spent quite a few years with Harvey, and we worked out some very, very nice arrangements. It's not just dum, bum, 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 bum. It's not just that. It's like actual, we do a dance medley. We do a thing for jazz musicians. I mean, we do a lot of different things.
I feel so bad. I feel like I could talk to you all day, but I want to make sure.
We have time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we have about another minute, so I want to mention that on Friday, October 12th, Sheila is going to be receiving an award from the Louis Armstrong Educational Foundation, the 2018 Satchmo Award. All right,
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
ceremony and a dance that'll take place at the Alhambra Room, and I do want to mention that
In New York, right
in New
here,
York.
in Holland.
I'm sorry, I apologize. In New York, yes, we are in New York. All right, and SheilaJordanJazz.com is your website, and you can order her book, which is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It's written by Ellen Johnson, and of course, it's the story of your life. Beautiful pictures, really a great portrait of you. And this is her latest album that we were just blessed with. Better Than Anything
It's
Live.
old, but it just came out.
That's okay.
And that's with Alan Broadbent and Harvey S.
Sheila, it is really a pleasure. Really a pleasure. I can't believe this time just flew by. Thank you so much
It
for
was
joining us today.
wonderful to be here. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Ron. Thank you both.
Our pleasure, completely.
I had a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
Thanks to Ginger Broderick, and you've been watching the Ginger New York Show. Take care.